You're tuned into the Morning Coffee Show with Tanisha R. Atkins.
Every day, I wake up with purpose. Starting my day with faith and inspiration. Wouldn't have it no other way. Live, laugh, love. Let's make the world better. Give somebody a hug. Let's bring the world back together. With morning coffee, let's have morning coffee. Morning coffee. Start your day with faith, inspiration, and love. Start your day with faith, inspiration, and love. Morning coffee, yeah. With morning coffee.
My name is Jay Wilson. I go by Tall J. I'm a motivational speaker and a CEO of an indie gospel label called Lampstand Music. It's my wife, Wendy.
Yeah. And I'm Wendy Welton, and I am a real estate agent with Epic Home Realty. And I'm also the director of grants and fundraising for a nonprofit that is called Sounds of Autism, that helps families integrate their children back into society through love.
Oh, so let's get into our interview this morning. So, y'all have to tell us, how did y'all meet and everything? How long have you been married? Let's talk about that first. How long have you been married?
We've been married a little over 3 years now.
Okay. And how did you all meet?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. We both have issues. We like to talk. Right. So, you know what? We met actually online. So we met in April of 2016, and then we were married shortly after, actually. So we got married July of 2016.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So y'all met online. How did you know? Okay, so when y'all met, because there's a lot there. I have to ask the question because there's a lot of people are kind of scared to do the online dating thing. So how did y'all know? What broke the ice for y'all? When did you say, okay, well, he's not crazy or she's not crazy, and it's okay?
Right. We already been through the ringer with online dating before, so we kind of knew the scary stories. We have some of our own, but we just trusted the process. We went out on a date. We found that we had a lot in common, that we love to serve people, and that we both love God most of all. And things kind of fell into place, but yeah.
That's good. That's really good. I like that you say, just trusting God in the process, because sometimes I feel like when it comes to dating, people kind of take God out of that equation. It's like we trust him to handle everything else, but then when it's time to date and marriage, it's like, well, let me do it. Isn't me kind of run into those some of those speed bumps, and sometimes I feel like when it's like that and God tries to throw you a red flag, you don't see it. You're rolling past those signs because you decided that you're gonna take the lead.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. You're right. It's so easy to do that with online dating because nobody likes to be alone. You know what I mean? But you want to be a little cautious and just find things, look for those red flags, like you said. Yeah.
Absolutely. I definitely agree. I've definitely talked to some people that have gotten married and then, divorced, and they say, well, to be honest, I never should have married that person in the first place because I just rolled past the red flags. I'm like, why? Well, why did you do that? Did you feel like that you just needed that love, or that something was missing?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, so you two, I was reading your bio, and so one of the things that I loved about your story is that you all work together.
Yeah, we pretty much, whether we're doing real estate or whether I'm with him in a speaking engagement or something to do with the record label, we are pretty much together 24/7, and that honestly has been almost, I wouldn't say our whole entire marriage, because we met in April and got married in July, and then we really haven't been apart since. But I think this next season that we've been in we're both entrepreneurs, and we just enjoy being together. So.
Well, that's good. So how is that? Because, you know, when you talk about the marriage and the work situation, I know that may not work for everybody like that. Right. So what's your niche? Like, how do y'all make that work and balancing the work and the home together?
Well, we basically just we feel like we're each other's best friend, put it that way. Above all things, we're brothers and sisters in Christ before we're married. So we try to just keep that perspective. You know, you have to work with people sometimes, even if you're getting along or not, to get the job done. You know, we can't say every day hunky dory, but you know what I'm saying? We learn to get over those obstacles because we realize it's not about us, it's bigger than us. Right. To be able to touch our family and our friends and stuff by what we're doing. So that kind of puts everything in perspective.
That is, I just wish America, the world, would get that, you know, to not focus on that small stuff, but to really focus on that big picture. Like, what does that big picture look like that keeps you going? Like, how did y'all get to that point? I know y'all met online, y'all became friends, y'all got married. Like, how did y'all get to that point? What how did y'all say, okay, this is going to be our formula. We're going to work together and we're going to focus on the bigger picture. Were there any steps that y'all went through?
Oh, absolutely. You know, when we first were together and when we first got married, we both were in corporate jobs. So that's something that it wasn't just an instantaneously like, oh, we're good and, you know, we're going to be together 24/7. I was able to walk away from my corporate job just recently in July. So, but it took a lot of faith. It has taken a lot of building between the two of us. It hasn't been perfect. There's days that, you know, we struggle sometimes. It's like we go to separate corners of the house, you know, just to regain our ground. And then we're able to move forward, you know, and I think that that's a really big part of it. Do you have?
Yeah, I totally agree. It's like, we give each other a little space, you know what I'm saying? We're not like all over each other 24/7, but we realize we have to have our little space. We got respective rooms. Like I got my studio, I'll go in there. She has her office, you know. We kind of get alone and kind of just, put everything back into perspective. That's all it's about. And realizing that she's not my enemy. We realize we're not each other's enemy. We're here. God placed us here to help each other and help others. Yeah.
Well, and I love that you said that, you know, hey, we just we have our days, but we go in our separate corners. And I think some things that might help with that too is, you know, not hitting below the belt, not to making sure that you're not saying things that you can't rebound from.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right. And you see that like even in family sometimes, the wrong things come out at the wrong time. You know, because you're holding something. Now, let me ask you something about that. When a conflict arises, say y'all are doing something and y'all don't agree on something, what is the resolution? What is the thing that's smooth? I know you go to your separate corners, but how do you keep from like hitting below that belt? Do y'all have a system where you're able to say how you're feeling in that moment, or do y'all kind of go away and then come back and talk about it?
You know, I mean, you know, we're not perfect. So we do, I mean, you know, we would be lying to you if we sat here and said, you know what, we haven't hit below the belt before, you know? And so those are things that you really, I think for me, my big thing is as a woman, I'm like, I'm always right. So I have to sometimes come to terms with myself. The really big piece is being able to say, you know what, I'm sorry. And you know what, even that being able to split and have our separate times, we find that a lot of times when that communication piece, sometimes when you're in the heat of the moment, it's better just to go your separate ways, go to your corners, whether you need to take your time, whether you need to pray, whether you need to do some retail therapy. I don't know. You know, everybody's a little different.
Right.
But then you come back and say, okay, you know what, that communication piece, this is what I should have done different. I'm sorry. Like, those words are probably the hardest to come out of my mouth. And I'm totally 100% okay, you know, admitting that. But just being able to take that time and say, okay, what do I need to do different? How do I need to look at this different? You know, our story is one that we come from, I don't want to say different sides of the track, but, you know, we do. And so I see things differently than he does, but he also sees things differently than I do. And the piece that he really mentioned is not, you know, we're not each other's enemy. We're in this for the long haul. You know, we both have been through the ringer relationship wise. And so to be able to take that time and to communicate, I think that's the other thing that we see with even friends and that have came to us, you know, for marriage like issues. What are you doing to communicate? You know, how are you, you know, does he know how you feel about that? So I think that's a huge piece of it is the communication.
That's good. That's good. And I like that you say, you know, that y'all are friends, you know, more than anything, because we should be able to talk to our friends and say, hey, I don't like this that you said. I don't like the tone that you used. Do you think that friendships is missing from a lot of marriages?
Yeah, definitely. Some people get married for a lot of different issues. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's the loneliness. Maybe it's financially. You know, you never know really until you get into the marriage. You know what I'm saying? Then you find out what your needs are, what the other person's needs are and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, when we're out there fighting in the world, all we have to come home to is home. You know what I'm saying? And you don't want to be fighting with your spouse after you've been fighting out in the corporate world or even working at Mickey D's or something. You know what I'm saying? You want your home to be a safe haven. You know what I'm saying? You want the person that you come home to feel like, you know what? I know you had a tough day. I got you, type of thing. Yeah.
That's good. Let me ask you this too. Like, okay, say you, like you were saying, you've been out, you've been working, and you coming home in marriage. Is there ever a wrong time to bring up an issue when, as far as marriage? Like, is there a right time? Is there a wrong time to kind of, I don't want to say confront your spouse, but to maybe have that heart to heart?
Do you have?
Well, yeah, I think sometimes maybe if there's been situations where I didn't understand she probably had a tough day. You know, we come home and, you know, you kind of unload on each other how the day was and stuff like that. I know she had like a friend that died recently, you know, she had an overdose and stuff. And that was really tough for her. So I had to come from a perspective of like, how would I feel if I lost my friend? How, you know, and I had a tough day that it happened, you know, it would have been easy for me to come home and be insensitive to that and say, hey, you know, well, all right, well, you know, that's your friend. It really don't matter. It don't affect me. But I had to come from perspective like, I love you. I'm sorry that you're hurting. I know how it is to lose somebody. So I had to put what I felt like in my day was important on the back burner. Not that what I went through wasn't important, but there was a priority, because when you lose somebody, you know, that's basically a priority. And that's how you got to do. You got to prioritize what's really important is what I feel. Right.
I think too, the other thing, sorry, of course, you know, but it's all good. I think the other thing too is just the ability to be flexible. Sometimes to be able to step outside of your feelings and say like, okay, you know what? I'm really upset about this right now, but long term, is it going to be something that I can address later? Or is it going to be something that I need to just get it off my chest right now? And so I think that that's another huge piece of it is, you know, there's times like in the grand scheme of this awesome world that we live in, is this particular issue that I'm having, is it going to have effect on us, you know, 6 months down the road, a year down the road? Or is it just what I'm currently feeling because I'm in this moment?
Right.
So I think that, you know, that flexibility piece is another big, you know, factor.
Yeah, because it sounds like, you know, just listening to you all, that you have to be in tune with each other. Like he said, he had a bad day, but he had to be able to kind of vibe you out to say, hold on.
Right.
Well, she's going through, we can talk about this later, but the vibe is off. The tune is off. So I need to make sure. Yeah. She's like, I love that. You know, that goes back to that basis of being friends. Because when you've been friends with people over any length of time and you really get to know them, you can kind of tell that they're having a bad day without them even saying.
Right.
You know they're not right. You're like, something going on. You're not saying. You're not yourself. Yeah. So I love that, like not being so selfish, but to really, hey, I have a partner here. Let me make sure she's okay. Because if she's not okay, I'm not okay. Or if he's not okay, then we have an issue. So that's really good. Like I love it. I love it. See,
I think too. And
go ahead.
And I was just going to say, just one other piece of this is we live in a technology world. And so do not, whatever it takes in your heart, do not text it. You know, sometimes like for a long time, I was like, well, I can speak it better. I can type it better than I can speak it. Just don't do it. Do you know? Because you don't know what that other person sitting, you know, the other end receiving that text message. You don't know what frame of mind they're in or any of that. And so I think that technology piece is really big. Speak those words out of your mouth to the person so they can see your eyes, they can see your reaction. And, you know, texting is for, hey, hun, stop and get me a soda at the store. You know, it is not for major communication between marriage.
I'm so glad you said that, Wendy, because that is, I think we, as people, we do that in avoidance of dealing with the issue. That's the problem.
Yeah.
We don't want to talk, so I'm going to send a list. I'm guilty of that. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to deal with this. Right. Because, you know, I guess sometimes a fear will rise up. You don't know what that person is going to say. But I love that you said that, like, because sometimes text can be misinterpreted. You can read that in a whole different tone, and maybe they didn't even mean it like that.
Right. And autocorrect these days puts the worst words in the spots that you don't want them. So you know, that's one thing that I just really believe, you know, even if it has to be done over the phone, you pick it up and you call that person, because that to me is, you know, that says a lot. It says, you know what, I love you enough to call you, or I love you enough to say this to you, to where we can look at each other.
That's true, because even if you're sending an I'm sorry text and they're still mad, they can read it like I'm sorry. And you meant I'm sorry, you know.
Right, absolutely.
That's a good point. I like that. I'm going to have to stop doing that because I'm horrible at that. I'm like, I don't want to talk right now. I just want to text. Just leave me alone. But I'm going to have to consider that next time. So let's talk about your families, because I know that when you two got together, you already had families. And so I want to talk to you about, how did you get everyone to come together and get on the same board? So you have kids, Jay, and then you have kids also, Wendy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how old were your kids when you got together?
So I have my daughter who was 20, and she at the time was pregnant. So I was going to become a grandparent for the very first time when me and Jay got together. And then my son, who's my youngest, was 14. And then Jay.
Then I have when we met, my son was 21. Mm-hmm. It just turned 21. So that's the only child that I have.
And y'all have 20 years. Y'all look good.
Hey.
Even though, you know, most of y'all kids were grown, like, how did you get the families to come together? Were they receptive of each other?
You know, it was a bit. My son, because he's grown, and, you know, my his mother, you know, has her life and has her spouse, and we've always tried to work together, you know, to kind of raise him and stuff. So he was very receptive. You know, it wasn't a problem for him. You know, he just wants me to be happy, and he loves to see when I'm happy with somebody that makes me happy, you know, as well. So that was pretty easy. Like, as far as her son as well, her son, we really took to each other, you know, because he was younger. He was like 14 at the time. Yeah. So, you know, it was just like coming in, not like I'm trying to be your dad, but I'm trying to be your friend. You know what I'm saying? Because some people come in like that, like, well, I'm your dad, I'm married to your mama, so you got to respect me, type of thing. And then it goes all haywire, instead of just approaching and being like, hey, man, you know what? I'm your friend. I just want you to know that I'm here for you. I got you. If you need to talk about anything, if you feel some type of way, just let me know. I want to be open. You know what I mean? So that was kind of the situation. Like, with her daughter, it's kind of a different story.
Yeah, that's something that's a little difficult still. Right. So my daughter just turned 23 and just had her second baby. And so we have 2 grandbabies, and she's very protective of me. So that's, I think, been the biggest problem is just like forgiveness, but then also acceptance. She doesn't accept easy. She's, I mean, if I have to be honest with you, I've been married more than once, more than twice, and and that's, so in essence, it's hard because I feel like I maybe have put her through, several different relationships. Right. She has not seen me and her father have a good relationship at all. And me and her, my son's father, we did have a decent relationship, and she still has a relationship with, her stepdad. Right. But the acceptance piece, and now that she's in that, I'm not a child, but honestly, like, she's an adult, she has her own kids, but that acceptance piece still has not, and then like even a forgiveness piece, like when she sees me and Jay going through things, she doesn't forgive well. And so that's, I think, probably been honestly one of the biggest hurdles, as far as being able to blend our family. And it's hard. She doesn't have the same life experiences. She doesn't have the same faith walk that me and Jay have with her and her fiance and, her children. So we just continue to keep them in our prayers and hope that at one point that will transition.
Right. Are y'all able to like have holidays together? No, y'all not at that point yet. Not yet.
Nah, not yet.
No.
Okay. Well, we're gonna stay positive.
Yeah, we just keep on loving on them, because that's our job. At the end of the day, we've been their age. They've never been our age. So I got to be understanding from that point of view. And just because I love her and that is her daughter, I'm not going to stop not being there for her, even if she doesn't, like the relationship. So.
Right. And then, just like Wendy said, with the marriages, maybe for her, maybe she just has a little wall up right now, but we just don't trust God with that.
Right. Absolutely.
And let him handle it. That's all you can do sometimes. Right. You can't stop and let your world fall apart, over issues and people, because we're only responsible for our actions. We want the best for people. I'm learning that. Now it's like you can't make people do stuff. You'll lose your mind. Yeah. But take control of your actions. Make sure you're loving people like we're supposed to. Don't judge. Give them their time to walk their journeys, and that's just what it is. It's just I'm learning to like de-stress about stuff. It just it is what it is.
Right.
Okay, so let me ask this, and then I'm gonna let y'all go get ready to enjoy. Y'all just have a few more questions. What advice would you give to new couples that are just saying that first year of marriage, they're still, because then there's the dating phase, then there's the honeymoon phase where you kind of finding out, oh my God, you annoy me right here. Like, oh my God, I didn't see that.
Right.
What advice would y'all give to somebody who may want to pull that plug and say, I needed a little bit because I just wasn't ready?
Yeah. It's interesting. I think the biggest thing that I can say is continue to date your spouse. You should have date nights. The other thing is talking about the hard stuff. I honestly, like when I have had people that have came to us for, one thing or another, I find out, and they're in like their first couple years of marriage, they haven't talked about the hard stuff. Finances, that's such a integral part. It's such a double-edged sword because it's how we have to survive. It's how we have to take care of our families. But also on the other side, it causes the most contention and the most frustration between couples. When we got married, I paid bills a certain way. He took care of bills a certain way. Trying to merge that and figure out how we were going to take care of things, how we were going to be able to handle that, I think was huge. So I just wrote, I was thinking family, finances, future, you know, what your future holds, you know, and then friends, who you're going to keep around. Are you going to keep those fair weather friends around, you know, as a couple? You know, what are we doing with our single friends? What are we going to do with our other couple friends? So just talking about those hard things, I think, is super, super important, especially through that first year.
You know, Wendy, those are some really great things that you said, because even, you know, like I said, I'm not married, but I can totally see that blueprint. I can see that blueprint. Like, look, we got to have a system in place. Why not have the finance conversation? Like you said, I mean, you know, that's fine. I love you. You love me. But who's going to pay these bills? You know, how we going to do I love that you said that, honey. We got to talk about some stuff now. How you pay your bills? Are you late? Did you get red ticket? I need to know what's going on. And they don't, because you don't talk about that, you know. Let me ask you this too. How does someone, you know, you individually come together, and how do you kind of cross that without feeling like your spouse is trying to control you? Like, how do you, you know, because I know women, we're tough sometimes, and a man might say, look, this is how I feel like it should go. So how do you kind of still stay in your, not independence, but, you know, because sometimes you can feel like I'm being controlled. You know, you understand what I'm saying? Now, how do you feel like you can adjust to that? Might be a little tough question.
It? I don't.
It might be a little tough question.
You're doing a good job. I'm like, yeah, I'm soaking up right now. Yeah. No, but I think the key basically is just realizing that you have to spend your rest of the life with this person. Okay, like, if I don't know where her health information is at, if she gets into something tragic that happens to her health, then, you know, there's most men who are in certain situations like that. Like, I just give all my money to my wife and she takes care of everything, you know, that's cool. But at the end of the day, you got to know where certain stuff is going, and realizing that, you know, it's not about her being selfish, wanting her to have her own independence or anything. It's just because the way her system and how she has set it up is the way that, you know, mothers are supposed to do. You know, a woman's nature is to nurture naturally. And as me as a man, I got to accept that. You know what I'm saying? Not like she's my mom or anything, but I got to respect that side of hers, the nurture. My side is to go out to hunt and gather. You know what I'm saying? And that's just the nature of the beast. You know, if you can come to terms with that, then I think a lot of those issues that pop up will be resolved.
Well, that's good. I think that you answered that very well. Just realizing, hey, nobody's trying to control each other, and that's a good point. I used to actually work for a light company, and I used to take payments for bills. And sometimes, you know, some of the men will call in and say, my wife died, you know, and I don't know anything. She paid everything. Yeah. I don't even know what to do. They were so lost. So I think you're saying just kind of be engaged, even if the decision is she's going to pay the bills. If there's an issue with any lack, me being present to talk through that with her and saying, we don't have enough, this is what we need to do. And just, I think a lot of women would appreciate that, just saying, hey, don't just throw me the bills or whatever, or the man, but I need you to talk through it with me. So it all goes back to that friendship. Like y'all said, this has been so good. And I really appreciate y'all for helping me to kick off couples therapy. So I want y'all to just kind of share your final thoughts about love, marriage, anything you want to say. I'm just going to give y'all the opportunity to say anything y'all want to say about it. If it's encouragement, anything, whatever y'all want to say.
Well, first of all,
you can talk.
First of all, we want to thank you for putting this together, and your ministry, your passion, you know, because it's in the stories that bring people together, you know, and by you're the catalyst that does that. So I just want to thank you and let you know that we really appreciate you for the opportunity. We pray that you continually do this strong, and that not only as you have people encouraged, that you're encouraged as well to know that you're doing your calling, and we really appreciate that. We really do.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
My final thoughts is just, you know, as men, just be open. Just be open. We're so hard-headed. Yeah, we take a long time to mature. I'm willing to admit that, you know, but when you get the right person in your life, you want to just make sure that you're being nurturing as well. You want to get in touch with that side. You know, I recently read the book by Jason Wilson. It's called Cry Like a Man. If you guys haven't checked out that book, please do. It's an awesome book. but just getting in touch with my emotions because, you know, I grew up in the street life. I grew up in the hood and stuff, slinging dope around gang members and stuff like that. So I didn't want to show that side, you know, that I had a soft side, because I felt like I was being vulnerable. And when you're vulnerable in the street life, people take advantage of you, you know. But I had to realize, with her being my spouse, my life mate, my partner, you know, I had to be vulnerable to her. I had to open up and open up a lot of old wounds in order for me to heal, so we can go forth, and I couldn't be making the same mistakes that I made in prior relationships. And that's the key, really. A lot of us at my age, she's been through certain marriages, and I've been through a couple marriages myself. So now we're at this point in our life, we're like, look, we got to get this right. We don't want to keep on carrying the same stuff over in these relationships. And inevitably, that's what people do. And then they take it out on the other person that didn't even have anything to do with whatever they went through in the last relationship. So as men, we need to be vulnerable to that. We need to open up. We got to release it and let it go.
You know, my final thoughts are really like, stay strong in your prayer life, your devotion. You know, be true to who you are. Don't try to walk in and change something for somebody else. You know, that's, I think, something that so oftentimes people are like, oh, I've got to change for this person. You know, and then just listening to God and his direction. So I think that's another huge piece to it is, you know, just staying in tune. And if you have your devotion life, you have your prayer life, you know, all of that stuff together, you're going to continue to, you know, follow what God has set out for you. So.
Awesome. Well, let me tell you, I really feel that y'all gave some great nuggets today. You gave a different perspective on marriage versus just fighting and just, you know, I'm not saying that y'all don't have y'all issues, but I definitely talking to y'all and lets me know, hey, you can work it out. Because sometimes when I hear some of these stories with couples, I'm like, I'm never, ever, getting married,
Right?
Because I'm like, I can't deal with it. But I love that y'all are friends. And I feel like I could do that with someone that's my friend. Because I'm a good friend. I feel like I'm a good person. And I feel like I can do that. So y'all gave me a little hope today. I'm going to raise my bar to like 0.5% today.
Awesome.
So thank y'all so much again for joining. And can y'all tell us where we can find y'all on social media?
Sure. My website is epiclivingwithwendy.com. I'm on Instagram as it's Wendy Wilson _ and then Epic Realtor.
And Instagram, you can reach me at lampstand_music or Lampstand Music Group on Facebook.
And then I'll throw out to my nonprofit. It's soundsofautism.org. So that's the nonprofit that I am associated with.
Yes, please put that out there because I think that's great.
Yeah.
That is really, really great. And Jay, you said that you were a motivational speaker, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, because I started, me and Jay, we became friends on Facebook. I think we got connected with Raz or something. And let me tell you, Jay goes in. I'm just waiting to see Jay on Oprah somewhere, okay? Because he hit hard with those messages. I'm like, oh my God, it's so eye-opening, and it just makes you think. And I love connecting with people like that. He's like, look, his perspective on things. So kudos to you for that. You have a really great perspective on life.
Thank you so much. All glory to God.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Wilson family.
Yeah.
That's going to be it for our session today. I'm going to have y'all back on again sometime. I got to find another segment and come back because I love positive people. Well, that's going to be it today, guys. We're going to wrap up. Thanks to the Wilson family again. I'll post the information on our social media pages. So if you want to reach out to Jay or Wendy or connect with her nonprofit organization, because that's a really good organization, that you'll be able to do that. So with that being said, we're going to let you go enjoy your day. Thank you, Wilson family, again. And until next time, remember, this is the prelude to the couples therapy. We're going to have many more couples on, so stay connected with us. You can find us at Morning Coffee Show Live. We're on Facebook, on Instagram, and on YouTube at Morning Coffee Show Live. I'm Tanisha R. Atkins, the host, and that's going to be it for today. Y'all have a great day.